All right, guys. So the third and final part of our Opus 22 set review is going to include the light, the dark, and the limit break cards that we got this set. I myself did get a little bit of testing in today with Final Fantasy VIII, and boy, it literally puts a smile on my face. I literally was just super happy that it was, for one, very good, for two, pretty consistent in the way that I built it, at least. I built Turbo 8, so it was how fast can I get all my Category 8 characters out and just do stupid stuff with them. So, anyways. Speaking of Final Fantasy VIII, the first card that we should go over here is the 8 CP Eden. So it is a light summon. The cost required to cast Eden is reduced by 1 for each Category 8 character you control. Choose up to 2 forwards. Divide 30,000 damage among them as you like. The units must be in increments of 1,000, and this damage cannot be reduced. So, super punishing, super heavy hitting, just in general. What are your initial thoughts on it?
I believe it's going to be a good card for 8, seeing as 8's getting a lot of support. So since you said you were playtesting with it, how many of these are you running in your deck, or are you running any?
So in the initial build that I had, I was running 2, and then when I was doing some solitaire, some gold fishing last night, I decided maybe 2 is a little too much, so I went down to 1 copy.
Are you running any other light in there,
No,
or just
no
this?
other. Yeah, just that. I do run 1 copy of the Opus 18 Ultimecia, which after today, I have a lot of thoughts on the current build that I have, and Ultimecia is probably, I mean, it's good because like the Lightning Ultimecia has the special that you can just discard her with, but it just didn't really feel great to play because I was also punishing myself. My initial concept was Squall's going to be able to free play all this stuff from the hand, so I don't care that it cost 1 extra because it just costs 1 extra to cast it, but I'm playing it with Squall, therefore he still gets to play all of the 4 CP stuff.
Yeah.
So like that was the whole idea, and I just didn't really. The couple games that I did get Ultimecia out, I would much rather have had the other Ultimecia in all of those instances.
Yeah.
So it'll probably come out. And truthfully, with only 1 copy of Eden, I am actually running Opus 13, I believe it is, Opus 13 Tella, where he's a ice backup that you can tap him, put him into the break zone, and discard a summon. You then choose a forward and deal it 3,000 damage for each CP required to cast that summon. So he basically does 24,000 to like 1 forward if I discard Eden, which is bonkers good. I mean, that's good too, but I don't know. The way that I'm playing 8, it didn't feel like Sorry. I don't know. The way that I'm playing 8, it didn't feel like I was ever going to have enough characters to make the summon feel worth it. And I know that sounds absolutely terrible, but just, I don't know. With all of the stealing that I'm doing, because I am playing Don Corneo, so I'm like stealing forwards. I'm playing Ultimecia, so I'm stealing forwards. And I never really had targets that I wanted to kill. I would have much rather just stolen them than flat out killing them.
Yeah.
I don't know. It just
So
felt
how many Category 8 backups do you run?
1.
Really?
Which is
so,
which
so
is
if you're
just
playing
Sid
from
Kramer.
behind, this is to me this almost feels like a win more if
Yeah.
you're not running backups, because if you're playing from behind and you've got Category 8 backups, then yes, this is going to be good if you draw into it. If you can reduce it by 3, I know that's still a high price, but you're going to get 2 forwards, you know?
Yeah.
But if you already got 3 forwards, 4 forwards to reduce this, then you're probably already equal or ahead,
Right.
and it's probably not the greatest card in that situation. It would just win more basically.
Right. I don't think this card is good now. I think it is okay now. It's not a bad card, but I don't think it deserves more than a one of in the deck. The thing that's going to make this card good is simply more 8 character names, right? We don't have that many great category 8 cards that have different names. We have multiple Squalls that are busted good. We have multiple Renoas that are busted good. We have 2 different Selfies now that are really good. We have Irvine, and then we have C for Fujin Raijin, but you only really get, like, at most, that right there is 7 that I've counted, right? But I mean, all of those, the busted versions of them at least, are basically forwards. So if I have a board that's 7 wide, and I guess you could say the Sid Kramer's in the back, so that's my 8th character. I mean, if I'm 7 wide in the forward area, I feel like I'm not
You're
really
playing from behind.
yeah, I'm really not worried about playing Eden at this point. I mean,
Yeah.
maybe it's because I'm playing Turbo 8. Maybe it's I'm going so fast that I don't want to see this summon. I would rather have some other CP to ditch for something else. It just didn't feel great. So I personally think I'm going to actually remove it, and then I'll probably switch up the backup line, because the only reason that I was playing the Tella was to actually, I'm pretty sure he adds a summon back to your hand when he enters, and that's also an EX, but then he has that action ability. So I'll probably swap him out. I don't feel like I would need him for that. Honestly, one thing that I was considering putting in, which was a card that we kind of both, I feel like we kind of didn't really dog on it, but we didn't really weren't too high on it. I think I might put in this Emina, simply because she's going to search for an ice character, and she would search for Don Corneo.
Nice.
Yeah, so I think that's kind of the direction that I want to take it at this point, is if I take out Tella, I just put that Emina in, and we just go that route. But we'll save that heavy discussion of Category 8 whenever I get some more reps in. If you play Final Fantasy TCG, there's a very good chance that you've purchased cards from Nerd Labs already. Nerd Labs has nearly 2,000 completed sales in just over the last 11 months or so, with overwhelmingly positive feedback. We're on TCG Player, but just as a little hint, if you follow the link in the description, there's no price floor when prices are updated on a daily basis. Always happy to support the stack. Let's get back to the video. Moving on to Citra. So this is our light legend of the set. When you cast a summon, choose one forward your opponent controls, it loses 2k until the end of the turn. When Citra enters the field, choose 5 cards in your break zone, remove them from the game. If all cards removed by this effect are of the same element, search for one summon of 3 or less and remove it from the game, then cast it without paying the cost. So, what are your thoughts on this?
I think it's okay. I don't really know that I'll play this. I mean, if you're going to play, I guess, a heavy summon deck, yeah, that'd be pretty cool. But, I mean, most light monsters that are good and relevant right now are Shinryu. And I feel like Shinryu is better than this. I mean, that's just... I don't think I would run this in a deck. That's just me.
That's fair. I mean, in the situation, I guess, if you're piggybacking off of Shinryu, you could in turn remove stuff and then remove Medine and then cast it without paying the cost, because all in one whack you have a light forward on the field and you can just cast Medine for free. But I mean, I guess the only benefit is that if you're playing from behind, Shinryu is better. If you're just already out-tempoing your opponent, then Citra could be better for that, because then you could just remove and then just keep pounding down their board. But obviously it's cards that are the same element, so they're definitely going for more of a mono a monocentric deck build for what Citra should be included in. Something like Mono Wind or Mono Earth or something like that. I think this does okay. Shinryu was also in that same vein too. Shinryu felt really, really good in like Mono Wind, of course, or Mono Water. He felt amazing in.
Yeah.
I guess it just depends on if you care about your break zone, which,
Yeah.
Maybe Mono Water's not fit for this because you don't want to remove because you need those cards for Lena. I think Wind honestly gets really good benefits out of this. So next we actually have Reagan, which is our Dark Legend. When a forward other than Reagan enters your field, choose a forward your opponent controls and dull it. When Reagan enters the field, choose 4 cards in your break zone or remove them from the game. If there are 4 or more different elements among cards removed by this effect, search for one forward or 4 or less other than a multi-element and play it onto the field. So, kind of in contrast to Citra being a heavily monocentric card, Reagan is the opposite. Reagan wants to be a rainbow type of situation. So, I don't know exactly where I like him to fit. Truthfully, I feel like he does really good in like a Magissa style deck where when a forward other than Reagan enters your field, choose a forward your opponent controls and dull it. Therefore, you're just sitting there dulling your opponent as you're getting those Magissa cards out. And then, you're already playing Wool for the Idolus and the Wool combo to bring Wool out. You're already playing Axstar. You're playing several different mono colors that you could possibly get away with. But even then, that's really niche. I don't know exactly where this guy fits, truthfully.
Yeah, I don't know about this one. To be honest with you, for one more CP, I think I would play Darkness Manifest. I don't know. To put more pressure for the points of damage and stuff.
Yeah.
I just feel like it's a better card than this at one more CP if you're removing all those colors.
Yeah, I don't know exactly where he'll end up. I like the card. I think the card is good. I just don't know exactly what to put him in to make him good. Now we're going to get into our limit break cards. So, of course, if you don't know what limit break is, I highly suggest going on to the FFTCG Square Enix page and kind of go over the gist of the rules. But just as a quick refresher, it's an extra deck of 8 cards. You pay the cost associated with the card to play it from the deck, and then you have to remove however many cards it specifies on this limit break card from the extra deck. So if you cast Zach, you pay the 3 CP just like a normal forward, and then he has limit break 1, which means that you essentially remove an extra card from your limit break. So by casting Zach, he costs you 2 cards out of your limit break deck, if you want to look at it like that. And then anytime they would move anywhere except from the field. So if they get bounced to hand, if they get shoved under the deck, if they get broken into the break zone, doesn't matter. They will go to that location, and then they will immediately go to the top of your limit break deck. So Zach himself, I think, is one of the more important limit breaks that we have, only because it enables a very niche deck that could be very, very good. We just have to do some testing with it. So, being that he's category 7, of course, Cloud Pod is the kind of premier instigator for Zach. Being that Zach doesn't take up space in your hand, you can just cast him from the extra deck. You could essentially pay 2 for the Cloud Pod, and then you just ditch 2 cards to play Zach from the extra deck. You've already got your combo like right there ready to go. That's kind of the only thing I really see Zach doing good in. Everything else is kind of he only does 3k damage. I guess if you want to play him in Mono Fire, you could play Leftia, you could play the Jin, you could play all these other things that help increase that damage, but I don't know that it is worth all that.
Yeah. I mean, I think he'll just see play just because he's fire. And if anybody's running anything with fire in it, they're probably going to include this in the Montleonis that's next. I just don't. I mean, he's an extra card when you need him. Really, basically, that's about it.
Yeah, he's literally just going to be a body worst case scenario.
Yeah.
Montleonis, on the other hand, I think is a little bit more defining in terms of how he plays into your extra deck. So limit break cost of 3, which means that you can only ever cast this guy twice, right? So there's no sense in you having more than 2 in your limit break deck. When he enters the field, choose a fire forward of cost 3 or less in your break zone and 1 fire forward of cost 5 or less in your break zone. If you control 5 or more backups, fire backups specifically, you get to play both of those forwards onto the field. They then gain haste until the end of the turn, and then you put 1 backup you control into the break zone. So 8 CP, of course, is very hefty for this, but it is not at all a bad payoff. I don't know many fire decks that are going to be wanting to get to 5 backups, but if you can curve that out, that's a very, very good payoff.
Yeah. Like you said, I don't know what deck is playing a lot of backups. Maybe Samurai, but at that point, if you're already set up, you're doing good with the CN special. Or the and which I guess if you go ahead and set up all your Samurai backups and you're just taking on points of damage, then if you get up to 5 backups, you play Montleonis, then you can bring back a few of your um, forwards and then change the state of the game.
Yeah, I mean,
So
worst case scenario, you bring back 2 standard unit forwards that are just card name Samurai, and you tack on that extra damage with Cian.
yeah,
I mean, I could definitely see that.
but
Next we
we'll
get
see.
into our ice limit breaks. So we have Victoria, who was one of the ones that were revealed at the very beginning of the limit break explanation that they did. 4 CP Ice Dragoon, which is very interesting because Dragoons aren't very prevalent in ice at all. Limit break 2, which means that you should be able to cast 3 of these if you're feeling frisky. Actually, no, you can only do 2 of these too, right? Remove her and then flip 2, and then remove her and then flip 2. Yeah, so you can only really do her twice as well. Right?
Yeah,
I'm not thinking wrong. Anyways, so if your opponent has no cards in their hand, she gains 3k, so she's potentially a 10k. And when she enters the field, choose a forward. If your opponent has 2 cards or less in their hand, deal it 7,000 damage. So overall, I think this is spot on with just ice in general, mono ice, anything that ice has been doing in the last little bit. I think she's perfectly fine with where she's at.
yeah, that's about right. This will just give you 1 extra card from Mono Ice, and that's about it.
Yeah, I think in
You
the
know,
in the scenario where it doesn't take up hand space, right? So you ditch 2 for Rugagine, you ditch 2 for Rufus, you attack with Rug, attack with Rufus. You've just made them discard 2 cards. And then next turn, you just discard the 2 cards that you drew to play Victoria, and then you attack with Rug. You give Victoria haste, first strike, brave, whatever, and then you swing with Rug again, or sorry, you swing with Rufus again, and depending on what they're trying to develop in terms of their board space, you could be in a very good position to go ahead and deal something 7k and potentially have her be 13,000 with Rug. You know, I don't think that's horrible at all.
no, that's definitely not for sure.
So our other one is Surgis, and he is a Lancer. He couldn't be a Dragoon. He had to be a Lancer. Limit break 1, so of course he's, you could run all 3 copies of him pretty comfortably. When Surgis enters the field, you select one of the 2 following actions. You either choose a forward and dole it, or choose a forward and freeze it. So For the extra deck in category 8 right now, I do have Surges in there. And the reason that I choose Surges over Victoria is because I don't have anything in the deck that is going to make them discard a card, right? It's on their own volition if they get down to 0 in hand. And if that's the case, I just feel like Surges is just a tiny bit more relevant for me. I mean, I just play a forward or play him and then choose a forward and dole something. You know, that's truthfully the only reason he's in there.
Yeah, this is a card that, if you're pushing for game, you can play it and then dole something.
Yeah.
And then that'll put you in there for game. So it's always something that'll be sitting there. Or if you need to keep something down, freeze it.
Yeah, if they
Or
have
at least another turn.
some Une on the field or something that just has a tap ability that's really, really starting to put them ahead, you can easily just cast this guy and freeze it. Just keep them locked out for at least another turn. Next, moving on to Ace. So he is our other 8 CP. Class 0 Cadet, of course, 8K. He has a limit break 3, so it's kind of the same story as Montleonis. When he enters the field, though, deal 1,000 damage for each wind character you control to all the forwards opponent controls. So he is straight up a one-sided board wipe. But then when he attacks, you also reveal the top card of your deck. If it's a win card, add it to your hand. So I believe you even mentioned when we were doing the earlier cards in the set is that cadets need a color fixer so that you can play more of the wind ones. So
yeah,
at this point, Ace kind of only really fits in mono wind. I mean, there's not a whole lot that I really see him doing outside of that. Even if they did have a color fixer to play him in cadets, it's 1,000 damage for each wind character. So it doesn't even feel great to play him in anything other than mono wind.
Yeah, that's about right. There's a few more aces that's probably better than this one as far as Class 0 Cadet synergy is.
Yeah.
But yeah, very good card for mono wind. Just to be able to board wipe a little bit easier, maybe.
Yeah, I mean, you're on 5 backups. You have Adamos and Evray. I mean, that's 7K right there. Plus himself, that's 8K, right? So that's, I mean, not bad by any means.
No, I think this will be good for those that cast, just trying to cast everything, and the turn that you do cast everything out, but yeah, you don't have enough to pull the Luso off the next turn. If you got all your 4 or 5 backups, you can just tap them all and then play this guy, and then you'll get your board wipe.
Yeah. On the opposite side of the win scale, we have Yuri here. 5 CP, limit break 2. If you control 5 or more backups, Yuri gains 4K. And when Yuri enters the field, you can search for a card named Chalinka forward of cost 2 or less and play it onto the field. So I've heard a couple of rumblings on this card because it does search for Chalinka. I think obviously, they're wanting you to play the 2 CP that came in this set so that, he can basically have haste, which is perfectly fine. But it is kind of gimmicky to be able to grab this Chalinka as well. So, when it enters, choose a monster, break it. I mean, that's kind of cool. Overall, I think he gets better if they print better Chalinkas, but currently, I don't think he's that great. Even in like mono wind, where I do actually have the 5 backups, I don't really care. I don't care that he's 8K. I kind of would more so care that I had a good Chalinka to combo with.
Yeah.
But next, moving into Earth, we have our right on. This is just such a Shantoto card if there ever was a Shantoto card. 4 CP forward, 9K, big body. When Shantoto enters the field, you may pay 5 Earth. When you do so, remove all the forwards and monsters other than Shantoto from the game. So it is literally a board wipe packaged into limit breaks. Now, the fact that it's a limit break 7 means that this is the only limit break that you get that game. So I guess if you really, really, really need it, it is there.
Yeah. I think I'll be playing this in my deck just for the simple fact that if I cast this Shantoto before I start doing anything, if they establish a board and all out tempo me or whatever, just get everything on the board, I can cast this Shantoto and then I still have my other Shantoto later. As long as, this gets taken off the board.
True. I mean, does it deter you at all that it's 9 CP?
Not if you're about to die. If you're about to die, you can just dump your hand and pray for the best.
Yeah, I mean, push comes to shove, you got to do what you got to do. It's interesting. It's hefty. It's a very hefty cost, but it is one of those last resorts. I'm pushed back into the corner. I got to do something.
Yeah, for sure.
So, yeah, I mean, it's right in flavor with other Shantotos, so I can't hate it. Matt, on the other hand, we have a 4 CP monk with 8k, limit break 1, so you're free to play as many as you want. Brave, and when Matt enters the field, Matt or Mott, I don't know, until the end of the turn, all the forwards you control gain 1,000 power and Brave. So I actually kind of like this guy. In the event that I need to give something Brave, I kind of like it, and the fact that he gives all my forwards Brave means that in a pinch when I need to start applying a lot of pressure but need to save face for some blockers, he's right there to do that.
Yeah, for sure.
I don't know.
And then just giving stuff 1,000.
Yeah, I mean, an extra 1,000 is not bad. He himself becomes 9k at that point too. I don't know how much it really affects monks in general, because I feel like, at least from what I know of monks, at least you would heavily play from the break zone or from your hand at the same time. So being that he's an extra deck card, I don't know that really does anything to monks in particular, but I think he's just a generically good earth card at that point.
Yeah, for sure.
Next, moving into our lightnings. So we have Cloud, who was our pre-release promo. So you get a very nice full art, and it's cool to see how they're doing the art with the full arts and the borders and stuff. So that's really nice. He has a 4 CP forward, limit break cost of 2. When Cloud enters the field, you choose a forward of cost 3 or less and break it. So that's relatively relevant right now. I mean, that's pretty good. And it's very interesting that he has a special as well. So for a copy of Cloud, 4 lightning CP, and you dull him, you choose a forward your opponent controls, break it, and then Cloud deals your opponent 1 point of damage. So that is essentially, if I'm remembering correctly, that is essentially Sid FFBE's special. Except it costs 1 more, which is very interesting. Sid FFBE also has to deal 10,000 to be able to kill the forward. So it's slightly different, but it outright breaks for an extra CP and still deals the point of damage. So I don't hate that.
Yeah. No. It's a okay card. I mean, if you're playing Lightning, you're going to be playing this. So it's pretty good.
Yeah, I think 13 has a really funny situation with this, because in the mirror match it then becomes a game of chicken. Who's going to play their lightning first and who's going to get their cloud out first, kind of stuff. It's kind of interesting to say the least.
To me, this seems like a 4-cost Odin that lets you break a forward of cost 3 or less, something like that.
Yeah, I would.
And it's in the shape of a forward.
Yeah, I mean, it has a body attached to it. I feel like the new Odin breaks 3 or 4 cost, right? So
yeah,
it's only a 3 CP, so technically it's more efficient to just play that summon, but maybe your deck space is tight and this is just extra deck. So
Yeah.
Maybe that's the reason you include it.
Yeah.
Next, we have Lightning, which is our other Lightning limit break. 4 CP, 5k body, limit break cost of 2 as well. When Lightning enters the field, choose a Lightning summon in your break zone and add it to your hand. Why this wasn't just a 3 CP forward for 5k that adds a summon back to your hand, I do not know. Because I feel like that would have made this so much more competitive in terms of the recursion. Typically with Lightning nowadays, I want those Lightning summons. Typically, I want them to stay in the break zone, especially if I'm playing Man in Black. I want to be able to remove them and then keep them removed with that cycle of attack and cast summons with Man in Black. I think she'll be good in other variants of Lightning decks, but if you're heavily on like the Man in Black package, I feel like this kind of goes against what you're trying to do.
Yeah. That sounds about right. It's an okay card. It will see some play just because there's only 2 of that element that you have right now, so you definitely will see it.
Yeah. And I mean, it'd be great if it was any other category 13 character, because then that makes 13 so much more stronger, It lets you basically play these cards from the extra deck. I think that would have been a more interesting, at least from a deck building and that type of perspective. I think it would have been better to go that route, but we might see Lightning do something big in the future.
Yeah, maybe.
Next, we get into our water. We have Tidus here, who is Limit Break 3. He is a 5 cost, but he does have the extra 3 costs attached to him. So he does kind of match our Ace and our Montleonis here for how hefty they are. Still a Limit Break 3, but when Tidus enters the field, if you control 8 or more forwards and or backups, you may pay 3. So when you do so, select up to 3 of the 3 following actions. Choose a forward, put it at the bottom of the owner's deck. Choose a backup, put it at the top of the owner's deck, and draw 2 cards. So this is probably the most water card that I've seen in a long time. This thing just screams like 3 different water effects, and you get all 3 of them, which is crazy. One of the things that I do find interesting is that the new Una that come out in Opus 22 does reduce the cost of the next Tidus that you cast. So he potentially is 3 CP instead of 5. So then you pay another 3 on top of that, which means you paid 6 CP, you drew 2 cards, and you literally just tucked a forward and you stacked a backup. So I don't think there's anything wrong with him. Being that he's an extra deck card, you could easily be playing Opus 16 Tidus, apply a bunch of pressure when they decide that they're just going to give in and break him, they choose him, you do your stuff, you draw some cards, and then you just cast this one, right? You just continuously gain advantage that way, which is really, really, really crazy.
Yeah. I think it's good. I do like how this one just included forwards and or backups instead of like the other ones. If you control 5 backups, you can do this.
Yeah.
I do like that.
Yeah. I think Tidus will definitely see a lot of play. There's going to be decks I think that are kind of built around him. He's just going to be generically good.
Yeah, for sure.
Next we have Leo, which is definitely not anything to write home about in my opinion. 3 CP, Limit Break 1. When he enters the field, draw a card. That's it. Man's literally yawning as I'm reading the card, so that tells you how good Leo is. I just don't think that. I guess if I need a body, he's there. I just don't know why else I really play him. Even for the draw 1, I feel like there's more. I don't know. I feel like I guess if I'm in mono water, of course, I'm gonna play 3. Well, I can only really play 2 Tidus, truthfully. and that's probably going to be the main one that I cast anyways, is the 2 Tidus. So maybe I play, 2 Tidus in case one of them dies super early and I haven't used anything else out of the limit break. And then I play 3 Leo just for the extra deck fodder. And then I play, well, no, I just play, 3 Leo and 3 Little Leela that's coming up. I don't know. I just think Leo is complete pack fodder at this point.
Yeah. It's okay. Maybe, let's see. So limit break 3. So you can play 1 Leo and 1 Tidus in the same game, right?
Yeah.
So maybe you go into your Leo and then draw your card, and the next turn maybe go into your Tidus so to get your water forwards count up.
Yeah.
Maybe. I don't know.
Leo could have been so much better.
Yeah, for sure. Because Leo is a good card.
Yeah, I feel like if they made Leo, instead of draw card, make it bounce. Make it bounce something. Because that would have been a lot more interesting. Having on-demand bounce could have been really, really good.
Yeah. I wish they would have made Leo an Earth. To do something in Earth. But...
Yeah. Last but
not
least,
it'll see play.
You think so? Well, just because it's the
Leo,
other.
Yeah. I just think I think it'll see play. To be honest with you, I might play it in my Earth Water deck just to get an extra draw off if searching for that one card that you need or something.
Yeah.
Just try and do something for sure. But I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah. So last but not least, we have Little Leela. She has a 5 CP 8K body, limit break of 1, so very competitive in terms of her limit break cost amongst the other 5 and 6 costs. When Little Leela when she attacks, choose one forward your opponent controls, it loses 7K until the end of the turn. So that's pretty good.
Yeah.
I think that this is probably the one that I run over half of the other limit breaks, right? She's just generic in everything she does, and it's just good. FFBE is not really relevant. Mystic Knight's not really relevant, but being that she's dark, she fits anywhere, and she just minuses 7K off of something. I don't hate that.
Yeah. No, that's a decent. It's okay. It's playable for sure. I wish they would have done a light and a dark in the limit break and had something similar to this.
Yeah.
This will see play in my deck because I run right now Neo Hexdeath Heart. So just in case I can't find my Neo Hexdeath, I'll play this if I'm sitting on an arc.
Yeah, that is true.
So I'll put this on the board. I know if I draw into my Neo Hexdeath, yeah, should I luck. But if they do something about this, then I can play my Neo Hexdeath then.
Yeah, the longer they leave it sitting there, the more... Wow, it doesn't really deal tons of pressure, but the more they're going to have to develop their board state. And I guess depending on what they're playing, it could start chipping away at things.
If they don't play anything big.
Minus 7K is pretty relevant. And depending on what other element you're in, if you do have something that pings for an extra 2K, boom, you just destroyed a 9K, right? So...
Yeah.
Wait, now that I think about it... Boom. Choose one forward your opponent controls, deal it 3K. That right there, that's what makes Carla so good. That right there.
The Carla. Yeah, that's perfect.
Little Leela.
I see it as early on if they play a forward that they don't want to get rid of and say it's 8K as well. You attack with Little Leela, target it, deal it 7. So they're going to choose the block, and if they don't want to sacrifice their forward, they're going to take the point of damage.
Yeah.
And you can get 2 or 3 over on them, maybe, if they're just trying to save that forward.
Yeah.
So, it's just going to see play just because it's a dark and it fits in any deck.
Yeah, I think that's kind of where it's at, truthfully.
Yeah, for sure.
So with that, that is every card in Opus 22 reviewed. I guess technically there's the legacy foils or the legacy full arts and all that, but yeah, I mean, I think overall this set is very transformative, I would say. Limit breaks are definitely changing the game. I didn't use them not once in the entire day today that I've played Category 8, but I don't feel like Category 8 relies too heavily on that stuff. It's really just a oh shit button if you drop Rufus Rug and discard me out, right? I just have two small things that I can play just to kind of build some board presence. But anyways, let us know what you guys are thinking about Opus 22 so far. How do you like the cards? How do you like the synergies, the new archetypes that are getting support? If your favorite card is Ito, definitely let us know down in the comments below.
Yeah, my favorite.
I definitely feel like he's gonna be one of my favorite too. He's such a turtle. But
yeah, let us know. Let us know how this set affects your deck. How the limit break affects your deck, or doesn't. Yeah.
All right, guys. See you in the next one.
See ya.